Welcome, friends. I want to share with you what I have been learning. No, I'm going to start over.
Okay.
Sorry. Intro music. Okay. Do you want me to say, when I go welcome and I go, I'm so-and-so, and you go, you're so-and-so?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Do it again.
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Welcome, friends. My name's Gypsy Bast.
Welcome. I'm Zoe Nash.
I'm so excited to be learning from Zoe. She is an expert, and I have been waiting to work with this woman. I've been waiting to work with you, Zoe, for so long, and I'm glad we finally had this opportunity because Zoe is an expert in the 5 elements Chinese medicine practice. She is an acupuncturist, but more than just that, because she's not only an expert in this field, but she weaves such magic and caring energy into what she does. And I've been learning more and more about how I can relate this to things like Ayurvedic medicine or yoga practice and just all in all life, because the 5 elements are what create the ongoing cycle of life. So Zoe, tell us about these cycles and how does it work? It's the 5 elements wheel, is that correct?
Yeah, it's definitely a cycle. So we call it the generating cycle, and it looks a bit like a wheel. So everything sort of feeds into one another. And so there's 5 elements, which starts at the fire normally, and then comes into earth, comes into metal, comes into water, comes into wood, and wood feeds into the fire again. So it's a continuous cycle. And then within that cycle, there is a controlling and insulting, and they work, in incredible ways. There's more than just the generating, because obviously in nature things need to be managed so that things don't overgrow as well, of course. But yeah, so that's often seen. Sometimes as well, you can see the earth in the center, and then the other 4 elements around, because the center is the pillar, the stability, the center of everything as well. So sometimes you can see it drawn like that. Yeah.
So is it like kind of chaos and order?
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, it's fascinating to me, especially the way that I'm learning how they feed into each other. So tell me a little bit more about that, because it took me a while to kind of visualize it. I'm not necessarily a visual person. Mm-hmm. I'm a feeler, which I've learned a little bit more that's the metal element, but we'll get there. So first we've got the fire, and I've written here in my notes, just explain to us, why is the fire the starter? Mm-hmm. Like how does that work?
Okay. Well, so we're going to go into this a little bit later, but if you look into nature, there is, everything is working, all of the elements are creating this whole planet, the whole universe, us, our bodies, right?
Yeah.
So if we think about the fire, you can kind of bring it all the way back into the Big Bang, which is one theory of how this all started, we started, which was obviously fire. So fire is the creator and the destructor, right? Ooh. So this is the beginning of everything. This inside of our earth is the molten core, which is really the center, the beginning of everything. It's heating everything up. It's creating that life force. Yeah. What else is sustaining this earth? The sun. The sun. Our solar sun, which, is creating this life, creating this energy, which is really enabling life to be on this planet as well. So we see that, and we see it related to our bodies, the heart being the center, the fire, which is, really, obviously a very critical organ for our well-being. The heart stops, poof, everything stops, right?
Right.
So the heart is pumping our blood, pumping our energy. The Shen is keeping our spirit alive.
And the Shen is? So
the Shen, good question. The Shen is the spirit of everything, essentially. So Shen is all the 5 organs have Shen. That's the spirit of the human body of consciousness. But also
consciousness.
Yeah, exactly. But also Shen is also the spirit of the heart specifically as well.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I love that, the heart fire. Okay. Mm-hmm. And it also makes me think of the core of the earth is like this molten core of like hot lava. Mm-hmm. And we're bringing this to you right now from a very volcanic island. And in my own theory, sometimes I think about that perhaps life Earth was created by lots of volcanic explosion, which is fire. Okay, that makes sense. So, moving on.
Okay.
Next is Earth. Okay, so how does that transform from the fire and relate to,
Well, fire feeds into Earth because actually the fire is what creates the Earth from the start. So it's actually
molten lava, right?
Fertilizes it as well, which is why, you know, fires are necessary on this Earth because they actually bring, you know, they bring fertilization to the Earth, which actually helps to create life. Like that is a very important part of the process that a lot of people don't realize because we get a lot of fire overacting these days as well. But it is actually very essential to create Earth in the first place. And then also, it's obviously, like I was saying, it's creating that heat, it's creating that warmth. The sun is actually, you know, enabling this Earth to be living at all. And the Earth in Chinese medicine is really seen as obviously our Earth in its entirety. So we're talking mountains, you know, the forests, everything, like our Earth Mother, like really the center and everything of it all. But also, you know, it's very much that. You know, it's the late summer, it's that time of harvest, it's actually the foods that we eat, it's like the nourishment from the earth that feeds our earth body.
Okay.
It's
the earth body, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So kind of a funny question, because I use charcoal toothpaste. And you were talking about how the fire, because it's true, when fire happens, it does fertilize the earth, and the charcoal, it helps to purify and grow. And okay, wow.
Yeah, I mean, I put, you know, ashes onto my compost and onto my vegetable patch because it helps to bring the abundance, bring the food, help things grow.
Bring the nourishment. Oh, I love this.
Yeah.
Okay, so next is metal.
Yeah.
How is metal forged now and that fire feeds earth, earth feeds metal? And I remember you told me it's about kind of like the nervous system and so tell us more.
So it's always an interesting one, especially if you've come from a more sort of yogic understanding philosophy, and metals always people kind of get a little bit stumped here, but it's a really, really beautiful element. And it comes from really the understanding of the earth hardening, right? So this is the hardening of the earth creates metal. And when we're talking about metal, we're talking obviously about all the metals, but we're talking about rocks. We're talking about...
I'm having a huge light bulb right now.
We're talking about crystals, you know, exactly.
Right.
Minerals.
Minerals.
Exactly.
Right, the periodic table.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
iron, ore, gold, silver.
All of this, the precious things in life.
So exciting.
So this is like, you know, metal is this very like the gems, the preciousness of existence, that beauty actually is very much part of the metal element as well.
Oh, wow.
And it's also, when you're talking about the nervous system, which is a piece that, so we've touched a little bit on the spirits, and the spirit of the metal element is that of the Po, which is more the corporeal soul. So it's like really the body, like it's
the Po.
It's the Po, yeah. So that is like our nervous system. That's like it's like the kind of dark cave, if you like, of the spirits that's really connected to this earth, like the dark caverns, the labyrinths, the stone circles, the ancient ones.
Wow,
the wisdom,
I love this.
and very much our nervous system. And you're talking about in the yoga classes about that animal sort of wit, that animalistic instinct. That's the Po. So that's really like our animal body of what, like that instinctual knowing whether something feels good or whether it doesn't. Like our deep instincts is part of the metal element. And as well, you know, obviously affecting our lungs and large intestine, which is that can be affected by grief, sadness, you know, the ability to be able to let go, as well as being able to have that inspiration and beauty for life on the balance of it. So,
I really love the way you describe the spirit of it all, because I'm one of those people that loves, I know you are too. We talk so much in our years of friendship. We've known each other for almost a decade now. And hearing about like the Middle Earth and the cave and, you know, and the spirit of how things are formed, it makes me think of, you know, the lore, the mythology, and that's maybe, you know, something that when you hear Zoe speak more on this, when you go to her segments of this, I'm sure she can elaborate more on how these beautiful spirit of the elements affect us in our body, mind, and soul. So that's super cool. So
Continued.
to be continued, right? I know, and it just like keep flowing into this. So then metal goes into water, and there's a life force of giving and creating a flow. And yeah, I'm so curious.
So metal
Explain.
feeds into water, and that really comes again from minerals, right? So how is
right.
water made up again? So so this is like actually creating the water, and it's also, it's creating the pathways as well, like the rocks, in order for the water to actually flow on this earth as well.
Oh yeah.
So the rivers and all of this, they need it, otherwise it has no form.
It has no form.
Yeah. So this is how it's seen, and also in the human body. So the kidneys are part of they represent
Kidneys
the
are water, right?
element, but it's the lungs that bring the breath down into the body, but it's actually the kidneys that grasp that breath, and then they create that into vital life force. So they have a very beautiful relationship as well within the body, which is also seen same in this cycle that we're seeing of the 5 elements.
I think of a waterfall.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I mean, that's when you think of the water element, think of the water in nature. How is it represented? What does it feel? That coolness, cleansing, purifying, nourishing, life-giving force. Yeah.
We were at these 2 beautiful waterfalls just a couple of days ago here in Dominica, where we're filming at Jungle Bay. And at the top of the waterfalls, and if you've ever seen a waterfall, there was all these mists. And it's making me think now of how the lungs and the breath kind of represent the mist. And like you're saying, the kidneys then pull it down and goes, and then it has to be, when we got to the bottom, it was all these rocks, and it had to find its own way into these pools.
Yeah, there you go.
That's a beautiful way of explaining it.
Yeah.
It actually makes it tangible.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what you see. Always look to nature. Things don't make sense. It's like going to nature, like, okay.
Yeah.
The rocks, the metal, it's like that's creating form for all these waterways that are nourishing this earth.
Yeah. So that makes sense now, because the next is wood, right?
Yeah.
Because now there's trees.
Yeah.
There were trees everywhere, and there's all this life form growing.
Yeah, exactly. So the water is obviously life-giving, and the trees then are part of that. And so they allow the trees to have the nourishment. So, and then obviously the trees take up this water, they grow. What do? They release carbon dioxide, they release, and then what happens is that goes up, comes, into the clouds, and rain comes, and this beautiful cycle. So yeah, I mean, that transfer, and obviously the fire as well, creating that heat, creating the transformation. I mean,
it's all making sense, this whole circle now.
Exactly.
So tell us more about wood.
So wood is it's connected to the liver and the gallbladder in the body, which is actually, it's obviously connected to our digestive system, as it is in Western medicine too. But it's very much, it's connected to our blood, connected to our ability to have energy, to have, comes out to our tendons, movement, flexibility of the body. And also, in the nighttime, the blood comes back into the liver, and that's how we go into deep rest. And this is the dream time. So this is where the spirit of the liver, the hun, starts to go off, and it has visions, it has dreams, it has this ability to have imagination. And so this is where this element is very much a part, kind of a little bit more ethereal, actually, and is more connected to our perception, our third eye, and being able to be able to see. And,
This is so fascinating. I mean, I would have never thought about it, because from an Ayurvedic perspective, it's very different. There's 3 doshas, and they still represent kind of only 4 elements. And then in the yoga chakra system, we've got these 7 chakras, which I've always kind of come stuck with, because we've got the earth chakra, the water, the fire, the air, and then there's this kind of ether at the top, but there's still 3 more chakras. So, not that I would leave one for the other, but I have to say, the Chinese medicine philosophy makes a lot more sense to me. And I just also want to, I mean, you know this about me because we've known each other, but I have looked to Chinese medicine and acupuncture for decades. Back when I was really young and I couldn't afford healthcare, if I got sick, if I had anything wrong with me, whether it was an emotional thing, I might have been going through something, whether I had a physical ailment, whether I had a cough, whether, something was wrong, pain in my neck, I would go to acupuncture. And I swear by it. It's been the one thing I could trust my whole life. I would always find I'd come back into balance. And so I've been kind of amateurly practicing it myself or studying, which is I think why I'm so excited to study from you and learn more from you and realize how I can blend this together.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Well, I've come to your classes as well in the yoga barn, and always weaving in the meridians and the acupoints, working with the tennis balls, I remember, and so yeah, it's really, and then bringing this embodiment, and bringing these concepts into embodiment, into life through the yoga practices you do as well. It's really magical. Yeah.
Yeah. So the yin and the yang, I think, is really what we've been dancing between, which is balance. Whether the embodiment is a yin practice, you've taught me and been telling me that the yin and the yang, which is, of course, the aspect of life, the chaos, the order, the black, the white. We know this from many different ancient cultures. But I want you to explain it a little bit more and how it relates to the meridians in the cycles.
Okay. Well, so, I'll touch a little bit on yin yang. So it's a very well-known symbol, obviously. It's everywhere. Even people don't really understand what it is. You've seen the yin yang, and it's a very profound concept, actually, of the whole complete outer circle of the yin yang is actually, that's oneness, that's creation, that's beyond duality. Because a lot of people can kind of come to Chinese medicine and go, it's very dualistic, because you've got this yin yang, black, white, blah, blah. But it's not. It's a complete whole.
I never thought about that either.
They're all interconnected, and they're working with one another.
Right.
You can't have one without the other. But this is like the beginning of everything, the one that started, that broke into the two, that then came into everything, right?
Beautiful.
So and with the yin yang, you have the seed of one another. And so they're constantly interchanging, interdependent, yeah? Which is, it's such a beautiful, like it's a wave that's continuously moving. And so, which is representing, the sunny side of the hill and the dark side of the hill, nighttime, daytime.
I love that.
Yeah, noon, midnight, light, dark, masculine, feminine, expansion, contraction, all of these, wet, cold, hot, cold, wet, dry. And so within the body system, we have meridians, or we have elements, we have organs that have pairs. So there's a yin and a yang. Generally, the yin holds the body fluids. So it holds the vital fluids, the blood,
Okay.
And then the yang is empty, and it empties and excretes.
Okay.
So you
So
have
for example?
pairs. So for example, you have the heart and the small intestine.
The heart is holding.
Yeah, holding the blood, and then the small intestine is
Which is the yin.
emptying, which is the yin, exactly.
Okay, right. And the small intestine then empty. Okay, that makes sense because it's exiting.
Exactly.
Got it.
Yeah. So then you have the lung, large intestine. Yeah. Holding the breath. Exactly.
Holding the breath, emptying
spleen,
the colon.
Stomach. Yeah. So the spleen is really holding the white, blood cells and fluids.
Okay.
Yeah. And all hormones, and then you have the stomach, which is just emptying and filling our food.
Okay.
Kidneys, so they're as
Kidneys holding,
and then
the bladder.
And the bladder just
emptying.
holding urine, emptying. The one exception is the liver, which is obviously holding the blood, and then you have the gallbladder, which does still, works with the bile. It's slightly exception to the rule, but it does still essentially, it is emptying as well.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
It's like, I just find it in such perfect harmony.
Yeah.
Now that I'm learning about it and I'm really discovering, like when I know friends, loved ones, students that have imbalances, I can go, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense now. Kidneys, bladder, whatever that might be.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So then I'll just touch as well that the meridians, then all of the organs, they then have their own meridians. So yin-yang pair meridians. which run all the way along the body, which we'll go into more detail later, but they also have their pairs. And generally the yin, because it's the soft, feminine, more protected, the yin aspect is running on the inside, so the soft aspects of our body, and then the yang is kind of more where the skin gets a little darker, the skin's a bit harder, and more protected, the outside yang energy, which is
right.
So
yeah,
as a rule, that's you can know where the channels are running.
Thank you. That's so good. I love that. Balancing the body, balancing the spirit. So last thing, tell us a little bit more about the spirit in terms of Taoism.
Well, really, Taoism is, it has its roots in shamanism. And shamanism really understands that we are nature. We're absolutely connected to nature. Everything is represented. And the Taoists have also seen this. So they see us as the microcosm of the macrocosm. So our whole body system is seen, in relation to the earth, in relation to the elements. And so they cannot be separated. And so we really look to nature. Like the Taoist understanding is you look to nature to find the answers. If you're feeling hot, there's obviously too much fire, you bring cooling, for example, simplified, so.
Absolutely.
And so really just continuously to look to that as our healer, as our teacher.
Absolutely. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
So much more to expand and learn. I'm so grateful that I get to do this project with you and create more with you, and I look forward to more. So
Same.
thank you, beautiful sister. Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, we're going to leave it for now and bid you all a beautiful day or evening wherever you are. I hope you have enjoyed learning as much as I have from the beautiful and absolutely just expert. It's always kind of a big deal for me, especially from Zoe Nash. And that you can continue learning from us in the future. Until then.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, really.
Yeah. Namaste.